For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated. More often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.
Forget the slot machines, forget blackjack, Texas Hold'em, or any other form of gambling. The real gambling was whether or not Chris Kelly was going to come back to my hotel room and if we were going to survive the weekend in Las Vegas. We're here. Welcome to the ET Stand. We have a full panel. All five of us together. Goodness me, who knows what's going to happen with Chris and I together on the same screen. Hello, Matthew. Hello, Lats. Hello, Franco. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hello.
This is the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fans podcast that lets us talking to the football. We are live on YouTube and Facebook and available on all audio podcasting platforms that are worthy of mention, that being YouTube podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple, a whole bunch of other ones as well. Our Instagram page has been going off, hasn't it, Chris? That's the one that's got a whole bunch of new content on. If you haven't liked or followed us on Instagram yet, there is some very entertaining content there that Mr. Kelly has been creating and curating from our time in Las Vegas. We also have the Discord channel that Franco will put up in the chat shortly for fan chat during matches and other general carry-on. Now you have the full panel on the show, as we said. We have an episode sponsor, our friends at PRX, who gifted us a corporate box in Allegiant Stadium, unbelievably. And they're an instant rewards business that is making their way to Australia, and a whole bunch of lucky Sharks fans got to enjoy the corporate box thanks to PRX. And so in partnership with them, they're going to have 50,000 retailers in Australia they're going to do rewards with. They've got a whole bunch of blockchain technologies that are going to enable them to do some fun stuff. We'll be working with them again throughout the season for some more rewards. On this episode, we are going to cover off the Lats social recount from the weekend. Man of the people. There's a lot happening. We're going to talk through the Panthers' talking points. Matty's going to tell us, does losing in round one matter, Chris? Going to check that out. The last of our Vegas travel diaries. Franco has posed a question in the Discord channel about something that rugby league should evolve. So he's going to present his case, and then we might talk about the matches from the weekend and anything else. All right, boys, let's get into it. It is social time with the man, Lats. Let's go. Here he is. Lats, you ready?
You're ready to go, mate. Let's go. The great ET and El McPherson took us for a lovely little stroll down memory lane whilst over in Vegas prior to our season opener, where they reenacted that iconic 32-year-old photo that was snapped back in 1993, where El was invited to present ET with a golden boot in recognition of his 200th game for the club. I remember it like it was yesterday, not just because my sister was extremely jealous at the time that it was not her up there with the great man. It was plastered all across the socials, which was the Sutherland Shire leader back then. El, now based in the US, was unfortunately able to attend the game. However, I do believe she organised some tickets for her father, Peter. So let's hope he got stuck into a few Panthers jerseys whilst enjoying the match.
We did want him to
Where's the Instagram interview with Elle? That's what I want to know.
There was a late night before that. Sorry, boys. That she was an early morning photo shoot in the lobby.
He was hanging out with Carl.
Fair enough. Where were you, Chris Kelly?
What do you?
On the party bus. All right. Speaking of recreating photos, our very own Chris Kelly did just that when he ran into a couple of Sharks supporting legends in Vegas and recreated the photo of us on the TV coverage back in 2015. How good?
How good was that guy?
Alrighty.
Who's that guy in that photo?
He looks younger. He looks no different.
I even said the Boldo, he's got his glasses on his jersey in the photo at the top, and then he's got him in his hand and this. It's so good.
Oh, that's so funny. It's absolutely hilarious.
Same jersey.
A little behind the scenes. I forgot about this until the next morning. I opened my phone and saw the photo.
That's the entire trip, isn't it?
Oh, God. All right, let's get on it. Here's Cam.
All right. Fans have been left to outrage and scratching their heads across the socials in regards to Klein not allowing Cam to challenge that lost ball ruling. not to mention a few other questionable calls throughout the match, with the majority believing we would have won that challenge at such a crucial time in such a tight contest. It proved very costly. There are also an abundance of posts around the Ueli no try ruling and also the lost ball with a minute to go.
We will get to that in our Panthers discussion points.
Alrighty, irrespective of the final result, there's been plenty of proud Sharkies fans throughout the socials with the team's efforts in such a tight contest against the reigning premiers. And not only from our supporters, there's been plenty of support from Penrith supporters on the club's main account socials as well, saying how much we've bridged the gap from last year and that the Sharkies are in for a big year. So I thought it was a nice, classy little touch from the Panthers fans.
It was nice. Now, is that a picture of Ronaldo? You were going to chat about Ronaldo's storming in, lads? Or
I didn't add. We will talk about that later, but I have not included that in the socials just yet.
Oh, fair enough. I got a picture
there's been plenty of support. There's been plenty of support and defence of Nico across the socials, who I thought had a pretty good first hit out, to be honest. The media seem to be pushing the same old agenda from last year, which is unfortunate. However, expected. It's what they do, so we're kind of used to it. But I get he's on a lot of money. However, we know what he's capable of. We've seen how good he can be, and the fans and the socials aren't too concerned at all. So change the record there, media. Alrighty. Dual Olympic gold medalist and international superstar of the NRLW, Rugby Sevens, and plenty of other forms of football, Tyler King has signed with the club, which Harley pointed out there in the comments early.
Yes, good on Harley.
She signed on a 2-year deal from 2025. Tyler won back-to-back Olympic Sevens gold medals in 2020 and 2024. She bagged 2 New Zealand Sevens Player of the Year awards in 2015, 2019, and was the 2023 World Rugby Sevens Player of the Year. Tyler brings a wealth of experience and leadership to the club. King made her NRLW debut for the Merge in 2023, where she rejoined them after her 2024 Olympic campaign, and she vows to put all of her focus into the Sharks and the NRLW going forward. So welcome to the Shire, Tyler. That rounds out the socials, boys.
Nice roundup, lads. Let's quickly hit through the comments
Thanks,
before we get into the talking points. And as Harley did point out, Tyler King has signed there. G'day, Harley. Great to see you there. And Franco has put the link to the Discord channel in the comment section on Facebook and YouTube. We'll also include that in the audio channels. I'm typically pretty hopeless including in the audio description, so I'll do that. Ryan James has come through in the comments saying, imagine not being in the corporate box in Las Vegas. Ryan did get to enjoy the corporate box.
No comment.
The great SJD. It was great to meet you too, legend. I don't know how much a good a form we might have been in when we met various different people.
Question.
Yeah.
SJD is saying that it was great to meet you at Vegas. We know that you met Fitzy. So is that perpetuating the idea that SJD is Fitzy, or did you actually meet SJD?
Am I just pretending that I remember meeting the real SJD, but actually I'm not sure if I met the real SJD, and I'm just pretending that I did meet him because I wasn't sure.
Probably Fitzy.
Illuminati confirmed.
Finally discovered his burner account. We got him.
Because I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't remember I did meet SJD in Vegas. All right.
Time, date, location, please.
All right. And then lastly, 2.0 comes through in the comments. Dylan Brown gets next to no pressure based on the money he's on, even looking at the pay rise if he goes to the Knights. Yet Nico is supposed to be Jesus every bloody week. Gets freaking tiring. Yeah, freaking tiring. Yeah, my eyesight's so bad I can't read it on the small screen. I'm getting old, aren't I, Chris, with the eyesight?
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't sure when you said you couldn't see the TV of the forest and it was about the size of a movie cinema. I was a bit worried there.
It certainly was that. All right, let's move on to the onto the Panthers talking points. And I guess we will start with Nico. Matty, I'm just gonna do the questions out of order. 2.0 has thrown us the question. Thoughts on Nico coming out of the match and the social commentary that Lats has given us?
Good. I was with Lats in that, yes, he had some good touches. He was involved in the first try. Obviously, he wasn't doing too much kicking and was not goal kicking. He could have won the game with a field goal, and the media would still be chatting about him in negative. So I don't think he set the world on fire, but I wasn't expecting him to either. I thought he had a decent game. There was the drop from the kickoff. That's indefensible. But what I did like about it was he seemed a bit more like a goldfish, a bit more like Joey Johns this time, that he just got straight back in his stride afterwards. He didn't seem to stew on it from what I saw a lot watching on TV.
Did Nico kick the drop kick that they...
No. The
was
missed
Trailer
touch.
Trindle,
The
wasn't
missed
it?
touch was Trindle, and
Yeah.
the out on the full
The,
from
the
the kickoff was
restart, one
Brayley.
of the
The
restarts.
one, the restart where they tapped it back.
And Yo knocked it on, and Ronnie sort of tapped it back from over.
Oh, he did.
Remember?
No, he did do the short kickoff. You're right. So when
Yeah.
we were chasing points, Nico did the short kickoff. It was tap back, and we got the ball back.
It was down the other end. You could imagine it was too far.
Yeah. So he
For
did
us.
a short dropout, and he did a short kickoff as well, which actually my 7-year-old now identified straight up. He's like, it's going to be short. It's not Brayley kicking. So I'm sure the Panthers identified it too. But there was a few good things from Nico there. And so I think, carry on. See how he goes.
I thought Nico nailed it, or did not nailed it, but I thought he did pretty well. Ryan James calls it out. To be fair, the narrative might stop if he dominates in a high-profile game. And SJD in the comments says, yes, Franco nailed it. I'm glad he remembers who I really am. Yes, JD, I'm sitting there going, did I meet you in Las Vegas? And did we catch up for a beer? And I didn't remember that, SJD, because I'm sure I would have remembered that. It's such a good bloody prank you just played on me there.
On Ryan's comment, I don't think the narrative will stop until he leads either New South Wales to a series win, which isn't going to happen, or the more likely, as crazy it sounds, is Cronulla to a premiership. And even still, there'll be people that will be finding fault going, oh, Trindle dominated this, Brayley dominated that. I don't think the narrative is going to stop now. And the more we talk about it, the more fuel it gets given. So end of convo.
I'll just say through my beer goggle eyes, because Boldo was asking me a few questions to talk about tonight in the game. But I think our advantage and disadvantage in those guys in the halves, they both do certain things at certain different times throughout the game. So instead of one player just absolutely, like, what did Jack Cole do for Penrith? Like there was, where Hines set up the first try. Yeah, he had an error off the kickoff. Trindle set up another try with a crafty kick. Like we had these guys doing different things, and everyone's so used to the dominant halfback, the one guy standing out. But like Williams pointed out, 2.0 pointed out with Dylan Brown, like he's got Mitch Moses there. So like, it's bizarre. But I saw some calls again for him. People wanted to go to fullback, but if you think he's such a bad half, I don't know how you think he's going to be a great fullback. Like it just
Brian
baffles
Fletcher
me.
was saying on SEN this afternoon, yesterday, put him on the bench. That's the most harebrained thing I've ever heard.
Please.
Yeah.
All right, Frank, I'll throw it to you. I'm going to bring you in on this question. You reflected on it for 36 hours. Did the refs do us in, or was it errors? Which one? What's the dominant side?
I think it was errors. I mean, it wasn't a clean game by the refs, but it certainly wasn't their fault that we lost. We should have been able to overcome some of those calls, and we just weren't clinical enough. We made a few errors, a few bad reads, and I think there's a little bit of round one aspect to that. Certainly we played well. You've only got to look at the quality of the game and the end of the scoreline and the opposition that we were playing. Just not well enough. So it bodes well for us, but certainly not the ref's fault.
I just want clarification over the challenges. So we obviously it was an accidental offside, and then Moses Leota gave way a deliberate penalty, which they said you cannot do anymore, to then trigger a challenge, and straight up Klein went straight upstairs. Obviously goes the other way, and then the only thing I've heard of it was in passing on the radio after the match. They said it was due to being a surrender tackle. McInnes couldn't challenge. That is, I've never heard of that in my life. That's BS, and there's been no clarification because Graham Annesley
that was not a good one.
Anymore.
That one,
yeah.
The Sharks, all the Sharks coaching staff and hangers on, including me, were all questioning that one.
So that was actually raised in the press conference. I don't know if anyone saw that, but it was brought up in the press conference, both with Cam and Fitzy, basically saying they're gonna ask the NRL for a please explain.
Yeah,
which goes nowhere.
Yeah.
What does that do? All right, let's move on. Impact of Aiden Fanua-Blake, the most talked about signing that the Sharks have had for a while. Matty, I know Lats is big fanboying on him. Matty, what's your take? Are we getting what we wanted?
Yes. First stint, first offload. I was like, oh my goodness, but we know he's better than that. The first stint, you look at his stats, 190 meters, was 88 post-contact meters. That try, yes, we are getting what we're paying for and what we expected. Great start. First stint, I was a bit like, could be better. Second stint, outstanding.
Yeah, I think they left him on for too many minutes the first stint, and he got a bit gassed. He was a little bit gassed.
Which is unusual for him. It was a fast-paced game, but he was playing 60-plus minutes, 65 minutes for the Warriors last year, and he played admittedly a faster game and round one, but he played 54 minutes.
Like that. That's Ronaldo. That penalty. Thoughts now? Still angry? You think he's a buffhead or he's a bit unlucky?
Yeah, mate. Still angry. You don't need to rush in like that. I don't think there was anything in that tackle. Very forgivable to give a penalty away when you're in possession of the ball. We will get those. He plays with a lot of passion. He's hard on his sleeve. They will pop up from time to time, but will be far surpassed by all the good things that he does with that passion that he carries.
Franco, Fitzy still hasn't worked out how to use the heartbreak kid, Daniel Atkinson, has he? The 14 minutes at the end. Not sure the structure was quite right. Give us a response.
Oh, I wouldn't say that he doesn't have a plan for Atkinson. He probably has a plan. That's why he's in the team. But it's a niche scenario or a cover or, best case scenario, or the flip side of in case of emergency break glass. But ultimately, we believe that having 4 big boppers on the bench covers for a better whole round game. And you know what? It's one of those scenarios. We saw it multiple times for Slater. An outside back goes down. He's got a ready-made replacement to go straight in, and suddenly they're talking that he's a super coach and an oracle that can see everything that's coming his way. So that something happens on the Vegas game, and Atkinson goes out there and plays 80 minutes at fullback and has a blinder. We're suddenly talking about how brilliant Fitzy is and how he's got a perfect plan for Atkinson. Just turned out that wasn't the way, and we were out-muscled, so an extra big body on the bench might have been better in this scenario. Couldn't knock Fitzy, but it's just not what we prefer.
I'll ask each of this question, and Franco, I'll stick with you on it. You've seen the round 1 match, your prediction at the start of the year. We're all pretty confident and buoyant about how we're feeling about the Sharks. Are you more confident, less confident, or about the same after having seen round 1 and this weekend?
I'm about the same. I think there is a lot of improvement for us to come. Remembering I'm in the top 4 there at the end of the season. So, yeah, I still think we're going to get there. I think we're going to be better over the next few weeks, going to get a bit more slicker, a bit tougher. We're going to have some players come back from injury. And I think, we're going to have a great season.
Lats, you going to echo that?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm going to echo that. I think we're about the same. I think we're on target for top 3 at least. I still go for minor premiership, and I thought that was only positives to come out of that loss.
Matty?
I'm going to be a bit of a Debbie Downer and go the same overall, but big game performances, disappointed. I thought all off season you can iron a lot of those little things out, and for the amount they add up, right? So I'm not going to blame Nico, Brayley, Trindle for those individual things, but they are exactly the same as Kennedy dropping the kickoff against the Storm. They are absolutely killers, and this was the peak stage they were talking about. The club themselves were building up, going, "This is our time," and that doesn't help. I suppose confidence either externally. Maybe internally it will change things, but it's just unfortunately for a big occasion it was more of the same. So I was really disappointed about that part.
I'm looking at you so you can start talking, Chris.
Good morning. No, I'm still the same. I think some of those errors in that match were absolutely horrendous. Like we said, we kicked off from the full. We got told that was practiced quite a lot in the shorter field. You just can't do those things against Penrith. Teams always talk about you can't have those errors against teams like this. And we had some of the most crucial ones you could have done, from, losing balls to kicking out in the full to not catching a kickoff after scoring to missing goals, to everything. So it was just, I'm still confident. I might have, when I re-emerged at 6 a.m., attacked another social media content creator in regards to review of our performance, because we only lost by 4 and he's 6, and he was sort of going on that Panthers sort of rolled us over and we would have got lost to the Storm by about 40 points. So I might have had a little attack at 6 a.m., but I think, he was saying that we should be ready for this game. It was pretty much, we knew what we're going to do. We picked our team 3 months apparently, and Panthers only had a scrambled team together after 7 days, which I thought was a bit strange, but I'm still confident.
I can't believe how bloody negative Nancy all of you characters are. And this might be the first time on this show. I'm going to tell you this. I am more confident after this weekend because we made a whole bunch of errors and had a whole bunch of fixable blunders. And we only lost by a couple of points, and we were really in that match. And you can see the improvement in the team, and you can see the impact from Aiden Fanua-Blake. Now, I have confidence and a renewed confidence in the coaching staff, but also the togetherness of the Cronulla Sharks team. And I know you want to talk about the heel turn, and I'm not talking about John Cena. I'm talking about Boldo's blind faith that he now has in Craig Fitzgibbon. I reckon it's still going to come down to us versus the Panthers in the grand final or the prelim. And we are bridging that gap, and we are getting ever so closer. And there are things that we can do. And if we don't kick it out on the full, we find touch, and we have a few of those other moments, I think we're back in it. And I think right now we're going to work out that losing in round one, Matthew, doesn't matter that much, does it, as we segue into the next segment?
Well, let me pose you this question. How did we go in round one of 2009?
We won?
We won it.
We beat the Panthers. Hot on the heels of 2008, we were celebrating, going, "Here we go again." We've signed Tupu, and he scored a great try. Anthony Tupu was in. Trent Barrett was in. It was a rainy Saturday night at Shark Park, and Brett Carney did his ankle was out for the season. But we're full of confidence. What can possibly go wrong? Everything, it seems. But looking at it, so our 59th season, we have won in round one 25 times. We've lost 32 times. We've had one bye, and we've had one forfeit in 1996. I'm going to call out some interesting years for you. 1988, round one, Boldo. How'd we go?
I reckon we lost.
We did lose 21-20 at Shark Park to Souths. 1995, how'd we go?
I got a feeling we lose a lot of these ones where we have.
Yeah, 1996, we didn't even turn up because of Super League. We fought for 95, we lost the Knights first round. 96, we didn't even turn up. 97, we won. 98, we lost. 99, we won. 2000, we won. 2001, do we remember what happened there?
We lost.
Yeah, we got pumped by the Dragons, like 30-6 on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah,
that's right.
I
was devastated. I was like, oh gosh, how's this season going to go? And then we know how 2001 went. Amazing.
2016 were a bit rough, weren't we, the start?
Look at it. 2012, 2014. Well, 2014, that confirmed it. That night, I was so depressed. I was down in Victoria.
Well, why don't you tell us how we perform in the good seasons? How did we go?
Hear me out. There's no correlation, right? That's the punchline. But 2014, we knew we were going to be terrible, but we thought, geez, we should be able to beat the Gold Coast on a Monday night at Shark Park, and we couldn't. But 2015, we thought, how are we going to go? Sunday night, Shark Park against the Raiders? More of the same. We lost the first four and should have made the top four. 2016, yes, we lost first round against the reigning premiers, funnily enough, by 6, funnily enough. So omens, showmans, whatever you want to call them. 2017, how we go? 2018, 19, 20. The one year we didn't make the finals, 2021, we won. So you can't, there's no correlation. Yes, if you win round one, you think how good's it going to be. If you lose round one, you're like, we lost in 2016 and we won the comp. So same here, but there's his stats.
Lads. On the run sheet, it says you're meant to respond to Matty.
Yeah, well, mate, I don't think it matters at all. And I don't think it matters how we perform in trial matches. It's still early on in the season. Match fitness isn't up. Things are a bit clunky, things to work on going forward. It's the middle of the season that counts. And I think I don't think it matters at all. I'm not too concerned, and I'm happy with how we performed.
All right, get your comments in here, whether you guys agree with whether it matters or not of us winning and how it compares to other seasons. Let's just hit through some of these comments.
Does that go for the Warriors as well?
Well, I think the Warriors are not looking so good, to be honest. All right, let's just go through this. Mr. Dave in the comments is saying, Sharks improve next time. Would like to see Mr. Trump there. I don't know that would help that much.
He was a bit busy that day.
He was. SJD's coming through saying, why can't we defend on our wing? If you go listen to the Las Vegas Travel Diaries episodes, SJD, you'll hear an interesting anecdote about me asking the Sharks coaching staff about the problem we have with our wings.
I think we all nearly spat our drinks.
That was hilarious. Kevin Coyle's coming through in Facebook saying, Scott, Sattler said to play him at lock. Who's he referring to there?
Nico.
Nico Hines. I don't think that's such a bad idea. It's just that we've got 2 players that would be better than him at lock in McInnes and Talakai. So
Yep.
it's just a waste of
Talakai at
talent.
6. I'm going to start it this season.
Oh, Talakai's not playing 6. Mr. Dave said Sam Stone Street was a bad defender. 2.0 is not here to defend Stone Street. I didn't think Stone Street.
He's here.
Yeah, all right. 2.0. Give us a response in the comments, please, on Sam Stone Street's defense in that game, please. Ryan in the comments is calling out that he was calling for the Penrith challenge. It was a break and delay, and then is asking for Amberley to review, which Franco has answered. That they
I'm not sure what an Air Force base in Brisbane's got anything to do with it, but he's talking about Graham Annesley there. And no further.
Coach SJD is saying that he's not sold on BHU and Hazelwood. When we're versing the good teams, bring in Tukes. Badly missing him. Kafusi needs to lift. We could even start Cam at prop. Talakite 13. That's definitely
Not a bad shout.
Chris has realised that, and Chris on Facebook is saying, I'm with Boldo. It was a good game against the Premiers. You guys weren't far off. Be positive. Plenty to be happy about and for us to look forward to.
Can I just say I hope Chris is saving his pennies to come over here. I know he'll have a ball over here.
Scooter69 has said, I took the $11 by tab for the Warriors to win the spoon. It's a good bet. And Sonia's come through in the comments saying we did good in Vegas. This was the first loss of the 3 that we'll have this season.
Oh, I like that.
I didn't put this in my picks of what big, bold moments. And I realized I should have put this in. Nico Hines will be the captain of the Sharks by the end of the season. There is my big, bold prediction.
Wow.
That is a bold prediction.
What's happening to your mate Cam?
I think McInnes will get Markey, find himself on the bench, and Nico will be the captain. That's what I think, my name.
Does that mean you need to change the head above your head? The head above your bed?
I just think Cam's off the field for too long, and it just gives better continuity with Nico on the field, on being the field as the captain. Is what I think.
He did brush him on the fan.
I did brush him a little bit, didn't I? I just. What do you want me to say to him?
You're like, oh, I've spoken to you enough.
I said, no, because I always speak to Cam. I've spoken to him like a few times. So
it was good. It was funny.
Oh, God, it was funny. That's another video that's on Instagram as well. All right, well, let's get into the Travel Diary Part 3. And I thought we were done talking about stuff that happened to us in Las Vegas. But Chris Kelly was lost. So for those that missed the debrief, I was not with my mate Chris because he couldn't keep up because
got no different Uber.
Well, no, because what happened was, as I didn't mention on the show, is that in the corporate box we were gifted 3 bottles of alcohol, right, by Juan. How's this? Our server's name was Juan, as in like the king, right? He was such a legend. So Juan, and we tipped him like a fortune. So he said, I'll take the 3 spirit bottles left over. You have to sneak them out, which is why in one of the videos I'm no longer wearing my Sharks jersey because my Sharks jersey is covering all the alcohol that I'd smuggled out of Allegiant Stadium. So here I am smuggling this alcohol out of Allegiant Stadium, right? And then because Chris and his mates want to keep drinking in the damn corporate box, we're the last people to leave. So then I'm trying to smuggle out this alcohol. And what does Chris start doing? Start singing the freaking Las Vegas Raiders song at the absolute loudest that he possibly can, drawing so much attention to himself that I'm like, oh God, I just got to leave him and run ahead here. He'll catch up. And then he never caught up. And then I didn't see him until 5 a.m. So, Chris, what happened in between is the question.
Scene missing. I don't know.
You're going to tell the story?
Yeah, I'll tell the story. So obviously I got into a Uber with the great K from the CSSC days back in the day. So we jumped in an Uber for about 7 of us in some large Uber. The boys went back to their hotel to change, to go out for a few more drinks. I believe the plan from there was to go to New York. And from there, I think where that photo happened, the recreation photo, is where I lost everybody. I think they went ahead because I was stumbling around Las Vegas Boulevard. Found my way into New York, and I believe just at that point my phone died, and realized in the hotel in New York there's only 3 or 4 bars. They're not far apart, and I just couldn't find them. So went outside at one stage to T-Mobile Arena and checked that out by myself.
We also couldn't pay for anything, could you? Because you didn't have your phone. And that was how so you were a bit stranded down there.
It was a little bit
down
stranded.
the other end of the strip.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're stranded at the other end of the strip, Chris?
You start to make friends, see what you can do. I
And
try
who
to
did
charge my phone.
And who did you make friends with that managed to help you get home?
At about 4 o'clock, I walked into a couple of WARS players. So they had a party bus. and they were saying that they were putting one of their mates to bed. And before I knew it, I was standing next to Bunty Afoa and sort of sizing myself up. And he goes, "Well, you can jump in the bus with us." And I said, "Oh, where are you going?" Thinking it was one of those, as you guys know, been to Vegas before, it was one of those big black sort of party buses where it usually ends up at the gentleman's
because
club.
they couldn't get a cab?
No, they had it hired.
They had it hired.
Yeah.
I think it's a better
But
story.
I was a bit sketchy because it looked like it was one of those. The guy was waiting for him to take him to the gentleman's club. It was 4 a.m. They said they're putting one of their mates to bed, and Big Nakuru came out next, and he was bouncing off the walls, and he grabbed me under his arm and threw me on the bus. So I was on a party bus playing the Venga Boys. The lights were going. They started handing me beers. We were throwing them around everywhere and dancing and using the stripper pole. And 20 minutes later at Resorts World, walked in and saw all the other players there with a couple of beers under my arms and thought, I think I've had enough. I might go and charge my phone upstairs. And Boldo's still waiting for me. So
I was asleep, wasn't I?
no, you just would just
He was
awake.
worried.
Just awake.
He was worried.
Yeah. So
I was up worried.
meanwhile,
I
Boldo
was up worried later. Thinking, oh goodness
Don't
me!
wait up.
How do I call Anik?
how do I say he's make a missing persons report? So always find a way.
I think
to
Franco's
say?
It was
just
funny, one of those,
outrageously
as,
jealous.
as
that
you guys know, in
caught
one of
up
those
with Metcalf.
bars, like they want a tip out of their beer service. And the first thing I said, "Can I charge my phone?" And she said, "No, we don't charge it." I said, "I can have a beer?" And she goes, "Yeah, sure." And put the tip slip down. I said, "Can you charge my phone?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, so why am I going to tip you?"
So,
And just,
so then, slightly inebriated Chris turns up in the room. He says, "Oh, this," and recounts this story to me in like great detail. And I said, he's like, "Oh, and wait, Graham and Fitzy and all the guys are downstairs. We can go back and have beers with them." I'm like, "Yeah, I reckon that's not the best time for you to go down and have beers with those guys." But what's interesting is that actually post debrief, I actually had to go out and walk to a mate of mine who was here in Las Vegas out to his car and came back and actually got called in to the Sharks staff and the coaching staff and was invited in for a beer or two. And then all the coaching staff turn up. And I kid you not, they debrief the game exactly how we do. They're just all a bunch of normal good blokes. And like, "Oh, what do you think of this bit? No, what do you think of this bit?" And all the stuff that we go on about and complain about of, "Oh, how can you challenge?" and all this sort of stuff is basically exactly the same thing. It's amazing.
I'll have to say the day before, where you turncoated from John Morris to Fitzy in about 20 minutes, after you had an argument with a South fan about John Morris's versus Fitzgibbon, and then Fitzgibbon himself turned up, and it's over, Franco. I'm sorry, he's gone now. He's off the bandwagon. He's now on the coach.
Oh, what I should have said to Steve Price when he said, "Oh, why is the attack not as good?" I should have said, "Oh, they're not as skillful because you don't focus on as many skills," as the answer I perhaps should have given, shouldn't I, Franco?
I don't know about that. No, that doesn't
They're not as
sound like a
skillful,
right
though.
answer.
The players aren't as skillful as they were 5 years ago.
I don't even know if I agree with that.
Well, Moylan and Johnson were more skillful players with the ball in hand than the current mob that we got.
I think you need to dig up there, buddy.
Boldo, I hear you. Maybe I was slightly hallucinating a little bit while I was going for a long run the other night to just get all of the Warriors game out of my system. But yeah, you said flair, and I was like, I finally agree with Boldo now. Yes, they were a bit more flary with.
They were more flary,
but I much prefer this side and what they can do. But yes, you're right. More entertaining.
Yes. And the last piece on the Vegas travel diary, and I made this observation to the Sharks management the next morning, is I think the Sharks management and corporate group, the leadership team, are far more together than I perhaps might have realised. And I think this trip, in terms of a team building moment for all of them and the coaching staff, has really brought them together. So that's the other big thing that I've noticed.
We did have a certain special guest turned up in our corporate box, certain sports.
Oh yeah, Dave Riccio was in our corporate box.
But Dave Riccio, he was in our box for during the game, and I had a chat to him, and I was complaining in regards to how the crowd had really dropped off for our last game because of obviously the women's game was on in between. The Wars had got flogged, and so most of those guys we had down in front of us were just bays of Wars fans. But by the time the Sharks kicked off, they were long gone. Like the crowd had emptied out, and it's picked up momentum since it us. Belandi's the next day, and it's sort of gone around wildfire from that. So,
oh yeah, the chat here is that it should have only been 3 matches.
Yeah, we can't, and you're not allowed to say no women's matches. You got golden.
No, yeah, I'm not allowed to say it shouldn't be a women's match. But bugger it, I don't think the women's match should have been on. The test match, they weren't competitive. It should have been a state of origin or.
I know. Lat said to me it was quite early on the Sunday. What was it like for you, Williams? Like trying to watch Those
Yeah,
sort
it
of
was hard.
games and gaps.
8:30 on a weird 8:30 on a Sunday morning. I was actually doing the weekly shop at Audi, and I was listening to the dulcet tones of James Graham and the like on Triple M. It was great. English commentary team listening to Super League. It was fantastic. And then come home, saw the second half with Vossi and Brandy and Vossi and Brian Carney commentating, which was good. 11 a.m. was similar to the Warriors used to have midday kickoffs on a Sunday, so that was kind of similar to that. When I lived in Brisbane with Daylight Savings, that was similar too. It was like 11 a.m. kickoff for 2 p.m. in Auckland, so not too dissimilar. But as the day went on, it was a long wait for us till the Sharks game. I couldn't imagine for you guys waiting till 8:30 p.m. Vossi was talking this morning saying that the women's game, it was quite open. He's like, it should have been a State of Origin game, and they were going through the logistics as to why that wasn't, and the cost and the like. But he said, look, nothing against the women, but we've signed up for Super League now. It's 2 NRL games. If you're going to drop it to 3, that's the one that goes. No offense to them. I don't know who Boldo got into trouble for, but he was talking about that quite matter-of-factly on SEN
I'm
this
always
morning.
in trouble.
Yeah, so...
just some people who are pro
Involved in the women's game.
Involved in the women's game. But
Yeah,
it's a tricky
I can
spot,
understand.
because they're obviously trying to push the women's game, and everyone wants to put themselves on that stage. Now, I haven't.
I was going to say we were actually discussing they could have done Sharks versus Wars.
Well, they could have done an NRLW match,
but their season doesn't start till
I know
later,
it doesn't, but the problem is they're not in training, and also they're doing other stuff. So that's
I can't imagine, like we said, we were well looked after on the day. It was gates open at 12:30. First kickoff was at 1-ish.
Well,
our game wasn't until 8:30, so you're talking 7:30 at night. But if we were sitting in seats and paying for drinks and water,
here's the interesting. I'll test this. Matty, you're in Las Vegas. The Sharks play the first match. You turn up at 3:30 to watch the Sharks play. The Sharks are done by 6 o'clock. You're then going to hang around to
Saturday night.
On a Saturday night in Las Vegas. Are you then going to hang around at 8:30 to watch the Canberra Raiders versus the New Zealand Warriors? You're not going to do it.
Nah, there's lots of other things in Vegas. If that's in Sydney, I'm not hanging around. Like the old doubleheader out at Homebush, where the first game we beat the Dragons 28-10 back in, or 28-12 back in 2000. I left halfway.
We didn't even do it. Remember in COVID at Cogra, we were like, no, we're not staying for Canberra Raiders. We're out there.
Lats is not hanging around to watch the Wars. He's going to have a punt, aren't you? All right, let's move on to the next.
Unless it was a box.
On to the next segment. Now, this, I did think of this too. So Franco posted this question into the Discord. And I'll let you take it away, Stephen, on this specific subject.
Yeah. So, look, I'm on the record for two things. One, I'm glad that we, the Sharks, went to Vegas. If it's a thing the NRL are pursuing, then we'd be foolish not to take advantage of whatever it is. By being invited, the club and its fans can hold their heads up high, stick a feather in their cap, and be acknowledged as the professional outfit that it is. I think it's great. Two, I have no idea what the NRL is trying to achieve by actually going to Vegas. If it's just a showpiece to hype up the beginning of the season, then fine. It certainly does that. However, I'm sure there are better and cheaper ways of doing that. If it's to actually sell our sport to another market, aka the USA, then I'm not sure what the long-term plan is. If the sport takes off, then surely the USA form their own organization that eventually dwarfs our own and steals all of our talent. However, thinking positively, let us say that we are pushing into the US to pick up a new audience and that we are going to be able to own it. Well, then, in my opinion, there's a big blocker at the moment in achieving that goal. The word rugby. So in America and any other potential area where we would like to grow the game, rugby is synonymous with union. Using the word rugby requires us to follow up with and or correct that it is actually league, not union, that we are referring. So back home, we don't even use rugby. We'll happily throw around football, also taken by other codes in other regions. Well, multiple codes actually, and the NRL. Some people might use league a bit. However, I couldn't name you many locals who throw around rugby league too often. They don't even use rugby in the UK. They use Super League. So case in point, there's a bit of a brouhaha going on at the moment about the women's game, as the guys just touched on. If playing in Vegas showpiece was a good thing or not, if it should be scrapped or not. Sam Squires wrote a great opinion piece on Fox Sports about how the women's game is growing leaps and bounds, how removing it from the Vegas calendar would only be a backwards move, and how the NRLW shouldn't be penalized simply because it's too successful. All very good points. Sam then raises the fact that there is an up-and-coming star in the USA, someone I surely had never heard of, in Alona Ma. She's racking up social media followers like nobody's business and has recently been, and I quote, just voted USA Today's Sports Person of the Year, is on the front cover of Sports Illustrated and People magazine, and came runner-up in the US version of Dancing with the Stars. Awesome. How is this connected? She's a rugby player. Well, is that rugby league? One would assume so based on the context of the article. However, she is American who went through their college system. So smart money would be that she's a union player. Research required, at least for confirmation, heading over to Wiki page, always a bastion of truth and facts, we see this.
No, he's even got it as an image to put over the screen.
She is an American union player
How's he done
who
that?
is signed for Bristol
Man.
Bears in the Premiership Women's Rugby League competition.
I'm just so impressed that you just did that then.
Wow.
He's the IT guy.
I don't even
Felt
know
like I
how you
was
do
on
I
it.
do my
News.
best. I
Can
do
you
my
put
best.
that up on the screen again?
You like that?
Partnership
Wait.
Women's Rugby League. Okay.
Cool.
There you
Yep.
go.
All
This is
right.
good, Franco.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, as I said, sure enough, it shows she's a rugby union player and she's just signed for the Bristol Bears in the Premiership Women's Rugby League competition. For the record, Bristol is a union outfit. Now, this was probably just a bit of confusion from someone out there in updating and editing her page, but it adds to the fact that if fans of someone popular who have active followers struggle to know the difference, we have a lot of pushing uphill to get the message across. Firstly, the NRL should sign her to the NRLW. I mean, why not? Secondly, the IRLF should drop the R. And then thirdly, that should be matched with the NRL following suit. We'll be able to develop a much stronger brand awareness, step out of the shadows of the game we came from, and really build into something an international base can recognize in one word: league.
I totally agree with
I've-
you on this one, Franco.
I've
Mate,
so many
I-
things to say.
Williams, you go after
nothing
that.
irks
Go,
me
lads.
more. Nothing irks me more than hearing an American go talk about rugby league and call it rugby. It does my head in. I think if they're ever going to push for it as an Olympic sport, which they're looking to do in the 2032 games, they've got to clear that up because you've got the rugby sevens. It's going to be mass confusion, and it really does my head in. Something they really need to sort out, especially pushing it over there.
Williams?
It's all confusing. The rugby, the league, the rugby union. I agree. I've spoken to many Americans about this over time, including a bar owner in Washington, D.C. About 10 years ago that was telling me, no, Russell Crowe's South Sydney Rabbitohs are a rugby union team. I'm like, no, that league. No, of course not. Union's the entertaining one that has the 6 tackles or 6 downs. He's calling. He lived in Australia. League's the one with the kicking and the boredom. And I'm like, mate, okay, righto. You're one of those people that can't be told. But he lived in Australia and he was still confused. But the thing is, I suppose it came from rugby. Gridiron, NFL, what do you want to call it, came from rugby union back in the 1800s as well. Common ancestor. And I read an article, Sydney Morning Herald, talking about the common ancestor and how we can draw that link. They got away from it a long time ago, American football. Unfortunately, you take the rugby away and we call it the National League. Sure. The French, I like that. It's probably a bit lame. I suppose they just call it rugby à 13 or just 13, which is 13. That's a bit more out there. You're right, dropping the rugby, but what would league satisfy? Because even if you said league, people would be like, what is it? It's a football league. Football league's English football league. Like it's confusing. It's a really good point, and I think it's something that it creates so much confusion. But I don't know what the perfect solution is. Super League would be fantastic. Just Super League would have been great, but that's probably a bad word. Your mention of English Super League there was fantastic, and I just had a thought. I was like, that is what they should just do. Bring back Super League. But I know that 95% of the Australian league community would be up in arms about that because
The name is
many
mud
reasons.
here for sure. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think the death of rugby sort of helps us in Australia at the moment. But it's more us Europeans get a bit upset about the different terminations. But obviously,
Even South Africa, Fiji, they're big markets for
But
us,
as
and
you
they're
know,
all
Franco,
very
America
rugby
doesn't care
union
about other
oriented.
countries, what their thoughts are. They're the only
Yeah.
country in the world, according to them. So there's
Yeah.
Boldo's stat always pushes out with the passports. But it's the same with, like you just said, there's American football. They had the National Football League. They had the American League. They had it was gridiron. It was American football. They've had a few different issues. It's the NFL. So they still get confused as well. But I think the point is we had was the buzz around, like, as Boldo sort of asked every time we got into Uber, like, as you had many Australians, but you should have seen, like, Resorts World and Fremont Street on those launch days. Like, you couldn't fit people in and around. Like, it was just nuts.
So when I'm in the cab and I say to the Uber drivers, how many Australians have you had here for the, what do I say?
You say football.
I say for the football,
Yeah,
don't
he
I?
says for the football.
I say for the football.
And they go,
And
the
you-
football, and they go, oh, yeah, the rugby. And you're like,
Yeah, the rugby. And then you
you do the
don't
lats,
present-
and you're like,
So, Chris, yeah,
So it can
being
work.
here, Chris, yeah.
yeah,
It can work twofold.
It's hard to do.
It's a problem the game's got. The game's got that. You're
But
right.
you brought up a good point today, the other day with the Uber driver in regards to hockey, because he plays roller skate, he plays ice, and then you go,
And
well,
yeah,
I
he
think
says
I think of field hockey because the
Yes.
Europeans think of field hockey.
Yeah, that's true. The guy says, "Oh, I'm playing hockey, lad." I'm like, "Oh, well, which one?" He's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And so now I actually had
But
it.
they're
in my
not the
notes.
ones spending our money to try and grow the game internationally. So
I actually had it in my notes that I was going to just disagree with what you guys said, just to make the show interesting. But I got to say, I actually agree with all of you. It's a real problem and a real difficult thing for the branding because it is so freaking frustrating having to describe the difference between rugby league and that is obviously what Super League was trying to solve for. However, I will present one thing to you: changing the name is Gulf of Mexico.
You're right. It's impossible to do, and it can work twofold. People, I'm interested in rugby, so rugby, and that they don't know the difference, but you kind of prey on that. They go, I hear the American rugby team's playing when it's league, not
When
union.
it's the rugby league team.
Yeah, or the flip side is that the educated folk know that the union is boring, and then go, well, I'm not going to look at this because it's just more of the same. So it can work for and against, and it's really hard. There was an interesting article a few years ago from, I think, a European rugby, I suppose, magazine or whatever, that claimed that the most exciting, and they were doing it deliberately because they were frustrated with the state the rugby union was in just being a diabolical penalty-ridden sport, said the best game of rugby was not rugby union at all. It was the game 3 of State of Origin that year, and basically saying that, and union has borrowed from league with their 22-10 or the 40-20 equivalent rule that they've got, that 10-22, sorry, all these league rules that they're kind of bringing in to try and spice up their game because they realise that it's just, especially over COVID, just in Australia, borderline died. It's huge. It's a juggernaut in Europe and South Africa, but it's not entertaining.
It's a fair question here, actually, Stephen.
Before you chuck up his comment, I was just going to say, because we're at the game, we don't know. I wonder what it was like broadcast-wise in sports books and casinos and the like, because at Resorts World, like, they can change the whole side of the building. So it was highlights of rugby league all the time. They had it on the Sphere. They had it on the side of Allegiant Stadium. They had highlights and ads, and obviously Gronkowski involved, and your mate Todd Gurley. And
so there's something in the vernacular with this, and just to round this conversation out, there are brands that win media, win market share just by getting the name right. You don't say, I'm going to go have a Google meeting. You say, I'm going to have a Zoom meeting, because Zoom got in as the vernacular for that concept. And so the concept of the oval-shaped ball, where you have either 13 or 15 players on the field, rugby union has nailed that vernacular and has that. And then you also have the issue of, football and those sort of ones. Soccer is another one. I think it would need careful consideration, but if you could pull it off, I reckon that's what Super League was trying to get to, and I think that's a concept that the NRL will certainly want to clean up.
They can't use the name. They can't use that name to scare everyone. If they use Super League, that'll put a dirty taste on a lot of people's mouths. Super League.
Same thing to consider, and it bugs me, is the ball itself, and that if you look at an AFL ball, the red ball. So if you see a whole bunch of balls just sitting there in a collage, you can identify the sports just by looking at them: AFL, cricket, tennis. A rugby league ball is just an oval ball that's not attached to anything. It could be union, it could be league again. We don't really know. If you don't
Well,
know
the
the
leather
sponsor,
rugby
it
league
doesn't
ball
matter.
was the
Yeah.
leather rugby league ball was striking, and to your point, the gridiron rugby league ball is the gridiron
Unique.
the gridiron or the
American.
NFL ball is identifiable. You're right, the AFL ball is identifiable. Soccer, their soccer balls frequently change and they're not identifiable, and you can't really tell the difference between them. I'm going to highlight a comment here from my brother Stephen, who's just asked the question, well, why are we exporting rugby league to the United States when they don't play it in South Australia and Western Australia? And I guess the answer to that question's got to be, well, the USA is a hell of a lot bigger, and there are other benefits to them going there as well. And I don't think they're going to derive huge bucks. So, yeah, Scooter's coming through. They're selling a new game to the casinos. All right, well, let's just round up. I think the answer is just to change there.
On
Yes,
your brother,
Andy,
we've
on last-
had
Yep.
we've had first graders from West Australia. Daniel Holsworth is from Perth. He's part of the coaching staff now. Grew up over there. And Nathan Vag, who played a few games at Prop back in about 03, 04, is from Adelaide. So, yes, they do play rugby league there. Nowhere near as much as here, but yes, they do.
There we go. There's the answer. All right. This weekend, we'll just preview the matches that are coming up this weekend, and we're going to do that. This is brought to you by Miranda Hotel. If you're looking for a place to watch some footy matches this weekend, there's no better place than Miranda Hotel. They play all the NRL matches live and loud. Plus, they have a bunch of UFC matches and UFC fights. Good as me, there just seems to be UFC cards and fights bloody all the time, friends. It is bloody everywhere.
It's the home of the UFC, so yeah.
Well, here it is, certainly is. Lats, this weekend, any games you're looking forward to? What have you seen in the team list or the like?
Mate, I'm looking forward to the Dragons Doggies game. I'm looking forward to see what Val can do. Damien Cook for the Red V, and also looking to see how Stili Tupanua goes for the Doggies, and how Connor Tracy plays at fullback. He had a bit of a horror run in the trials after a couple of good touches early, and be interesting to see if he is fullback for the full season.
Matty, talking points from any of your media correspondents that you've looked at, podcasts, or anything this week that's caught your eye?
Yeah, Dan and Kemp's Bloke in the Bar podcast, really good listen, wrapping up the games. Goes for about an hour and a half. I did listen to it on, I've kind of fast forwarded, listen on double speed. But Dan and Kemp, full of praise for the Sharks. He said it was the best looking, or the best way we've looked since Fitzgibbon's come in. And he was actually similar to yourself, really full of confidence after seeing that performance. After a few of the other guys on his pod were quite critical of us, saying, hey, it's the same team together. Why are they still making schoolboy errors? He's like, that's round one. And he was the only one on his panel that had played first grade, really. So he could, I suppose, vouch for that. And he was quite glowing of praise. And he said, look,
one of his co-hosts might have been one of the one I attacked on.
Oh, really? Oh, there you go.
Oh, really?
There you go.
The guru.
Topical. Oh, there you go. Yes, the good old guru. So that one, I listened to Peter Shanaz. He was pumping out plenty of material like you guys as well. And I haven't heard to the Fins Up guys, but a shout out to them. They were discussing last week whether they should be changing their name to Only Fins. So I did speak to Dan after that.
Oh, they should clearly be changing their name to Only Fins.
Not quite. I think
that's
maybe it was
a good
a
idea.
on a side point, I did have a good chat with Dan after our last episode talking about the shark cage, and he is all for that. We had obviously all of us had experience in CLBC back in the day. You guys spoke to or hung out with CLBC Immortality or Immortal members in Kieran Hayden there, but yeah, great to see that active support, and he was just leaning in to congratulating us on engaging that and getting it out there, which is good to hear. So shout out to them. Nothing else from the LA community. All I'm doing is laughing at Mitch Moses not being named today and living in the Parramatta region. All of the Lippy fans have got very quiet. All of a sudden, they've drifted out to $6.70 against Melbourne this weekend. Gamble responsibly. So yeah. And also Cowboys playing Manly this week. We'll see how our round 2 opposition goes there.
I did see an update from the NRL physio in regards to Mitchell Moses, and apparently it's all clear on his scans. It's just pain post-surgery that he's just not comfortable with. So
indefinite.
Interesting.
Yeah. What is the injury?
Metatarsal, he said.
Oh, that brought Tim Cahill undone for a long time.
Franco, you even watch a game on the weekend, or are you just no Sharks, no action?
Oh no, I definitely have a bit of a fondness of watching the NRL in general, but this weekend, no, probably not really, to be honest. I am kind of keen to catch the Roosters Broncos game. I'm sure Kelly will be as well. just sort of, it's going to be definitely a new look Roosters outfit. And also just seeing how Ben Hunt slots into the Broncos team. There's a little bit of a soft spot for the Tigers at the moment with Hunt playing for them, and seeing how Luai does, and see if there has any light at the end of the tunnel for struggling Tigers fans as well.
You know, I'm looking forward to seeing, made a big call, and we're going to have a classic Category 2 Boldo and call here, where I've said that the Tigers are going to come good. We're about to find out. All right, let's move to our last segment.
Can I just say, I think Shanazi's holding on to that quote till the end of the season and might have a bit of a revenge episode. But breaking news out of the NRL is that due to Mr. Alfred, the new hurricane hitting up at Queensland, the game between South and the Dolphins has been moved to Combank Stadium in Parramatta in preparation for not having a good weather system up there. So they've already moved.
Right.
All right, anything else? Buddy, anything you didn't get to talk about on the podcast? Free hit.
Speaking of Category 2 predictions there, was that
Yes.
a deliberate kind of reference there that you provided?
What do you mean? No, Category 2. Well, no,
it's a Category 2
three
cyclone.
times. There's three different types of Boldo calls, Matty. There's a category 1 where I'm proven to be instantly wrong. There's a Category 2 where I'm proven to be correct eventually, and then there's a Category 3 where I'm just right.
I thought we were going through HIAs, but there you
No,
go.
Category 2
Anyway,
is my favorite one,
Albert
which is where I
is a
say that
Category
something's
2
going to happen,
cyclone.
and I'm proven to be correct eventually.
Yeah.
And this
Good
is
luck
going to be
to
a Category
our,
2, Matty.
Good luck to our, speaking of cyclones, I suppose, and predictions, good luck to our people, I suppose, was it Grafton and north to the Sunshine Coast, or even Fraser Island? Looks like that's going to be pretty gnarly. So good luck to them.
All right. Anything we missed from you, Franco, you wanted to get mention of?
Yeah, a couple of quick things. One is obviously it'll be a talking point in the coming weeks, but how will the trip back from Vegas and all the commitments affect us in round 2? We're speaking about how we're going to have a great season and we're going to go from strength to strength, but hopefully we don't cannibalize ourselves in week 2 if we have a bit of a second rusty game off the back of everything that's gone on. And then also, just a shout out to all of our audio listeners, of which there are many, and we really appreciate you guys. But sometimes when you discover us or find a podcast, naturally, you don't realize that there's a YouTube video associated with that. And so these are actually live on video, and there's plenty of people that are messaging us and on the debrief episodes, dial in and join in on the chat. So we've seen the comments. It may sound like there's a cast of thousands at times, but that's not the case. It's just people participating and being a part of it while we're live. If you're an audio listener and you catch up late, that's great. We love you. But if you're ever available or around and you want to get in on some of the fun, you're more than welcome to join us at 8:30 on Tuesdays and not long after the games each week.
On either Facebook or YouTube. And one of the ongoing battles is Franco and me arguing about whether it should be straight after kickoff or giving Franco enough time to be more prepped. And look, we still haven't worked out the ends of that one, have we, Franco?
We haven't, but the time keeps getting shorter and shorter, so I think I'm losing that battle.
All right, anything from you, Lats, before we round it out?
No, mate, I just wanted to echo Maddie's sentiments, wishing everyone up north of the border all the best. I've got family up there in Brisbane and the sunny coast, and it is going to be pretty gnarly up there, and check in on your loved ones and stay safe.
All right, Chris?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Boys, beards are looking on point. Start of the season. Everyone's matched up finally, so...
Yeah, we're all bearded at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah,
Boldo, you're dragging
Look
the
back
chain
at
there,
those
mate.
old clips of us, and we're all got different hairs and all sorts of different stuff going on. Matty's pretty consistent.
I think for Franco, quote of the night goes to Boldo tonight. You'd love to see about how you mentioned the other week how Boldo likes to twist the game a little bit, and he sat down and had a go at the blackjack on the bar that's on the computer screen. And he says to the barman, "This is just terrible. It's just rigged." And the barman just said, "What, you think Vegas was built on like giving away winnings? Like he couldn't twist the game to his way."
Oh, it's absolutely bloody rubbish, that thing. But it cost me $14 basically. You've just wasted gambling money to get a freaking ice water. And Kevin Coyle's coming through in the comments. I'm just going to say this, Kevin. I'm not going to be on the Tuesday night show next week. So I'm going to tell you right now, Kevin, My prediction is the Sharks are going to win. And they're going to whoop the Cowboys because the Sharks are a gun team in 2025. There's my prediction. Next week, it will be these four lads hosting the Tuesday Night Live show. They will do a full preview of the North Queensland Cowboys Sharks match. I think that's everything. Yes, Matthew?
I was going to say I'll be away for the next 4 weeks with work, but I may be able to dial in. I'm in a bit more of a more accessible location, so hopefully I'll be able to get involved and get some chronicles out while I'm away too. But yeah, on Kevin, we will have a full preview and debrief shows associated with that.
I just want to echo as well Franco's sentiments about people listening to Spotify, and apologies to our new followers on Instagram and YouTube that I threatened because my phone was flat, so I made them get out their phones, showed them where we were, made them subscribe on the spot, including Dave Riccio. So I apologise to all the people I got a shirt grabbed and subscribe, join us.
Chris Kelly running around Las Vegas basically just pulled people's phones out and like forced them to subscribe to the Instagram page. I'm like, you probably should have done that to the YouTube channel, but we decided that we were doing the Instagram. I tell you that our Instagram page is pretty nuts at the moment. It's got a lot of stuff on it, so we're going to do a lot of more. So here's what we're going to say. I've learned that there's a lot that we can do as Sharks fans as our group, but also as a wider group of Sharks fans. So if anyone wants to get involved with the show and do anything, please do contact us. There's plenty of fun things that we can do. We've got probably 28 different ideas sitting on the bench, don't we, gang? Of things that we want to do, and if we had an infinite amount of time, we would do them. So what? Roving mics. So even the roving mics down at the game.
An upgraded mic that looks like.
Oh yeah, yeah. Chris wants me to buy something. One of the big influencer bloody
we saw
phone
them.
things, like where you're like hanging around the thing, and like.
We saw them. It was good. They were great. One guy had 3 phones in Fremont Street. It was nuts.
Anyway. Other than that, look, we'll wrap it up there. We might have an episode or something over the weekend if I can think of something good. Franco will be in the host seat with the golden microphone on Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Always dangerous. But for me, David Boldo and my lovely co-host, Christopher Kelly, Matthew Williams, Stephen Franklin, and Scott Latino, Chris and I are going to bed. That was the ET Stand podcast. Up, Cronulla.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.